Dear students, today we are going to learn a chapter called cash flow statement. In this chapter, we are going to learn how the cash inflows and cash outflows in a business. It happens through three different activity, namely operating activity, investment activity and financial activity. So first we will learn the concept, then we will learn the format and then we will be doing some sums. Let's move on to the very first slide. Look into the PPT slide. There are three mountains: operating activity, investment, and financial activity. Now, let us learn these activities with one single word so that we do not forget things. For example, operating activity, I will use the word core business. That means if your business is selling furniture, whatever money you get selling furniture is your cash inflow, and the expenses related to your business like paying salary or purchase of wood, that is your cash outflow. Talking about investment activity, in one word I will define it as non-current asset. In the balance sheet, asset side is divided into two, non-current as well as current asset. So the word non-current asset is your investment activity. This is where the company puts money in, that is fixed asset and investment. The third one is financial activity. Financial activity in single word we can define as capital employed. In the chapter ratios, you might have learned what is capital employed. That is SHF, that is shareholders fund, plus long-term debts. What are the examples of long-term debts? Bank loan and debenture. I hope with this single word you have understood this entire activities, all the three activities. If you have seen, I have written the word indirect, direct and direct, which I will explain in the next slide. Look into the examples over here. What are the examples of cash inflow? Sales. Obviously, sale is your core business. Decrease in current asset. Now, what is current asset? Current asset could be your debtors. How will a debtor decrease? When the debtors pay you off, right? That is why it comes in cash inflow. Same thing, there are examples of cash outflow. I have just written the abbreviations like CA is current asset, CL is your current liability. All right. So operating activity pertains to your current asset and current liability. We can just take it in that way. Investment activity, sale of fixed asset. If you're selling your machinery, machinery belongs to non-current asset, isn't it? So when you're selling it, the cash which comes in is your investment activity. Same thing, if you're investing if your investment is increasing, it means that you have invested in some other company. That means cash has gone out. So that becomes your cash outflow. All right. Financial activity, if the equity increases, that means you have issued equity share. What will the public give you? Public will give you cash, right? So that is the cash inflow. Now, apart from these three, there are some items which do not is not considered part of these activities, and that are called cash equivalent. Cash equivalent are the items which can be easily converted to cash, and you have some examples: check, bank, marketable securities, current investment. Marketable securities, they will not ask you as such, but let me give you some general knowledge. These are the securities which can be converted into cash within 3 months. That is why it falls under the category cash equivalent. Current investment is something like in the morning you do an investment and you have the right to withdraw the money in the evening. The complete money, okay? If you invested 1 lakh, you can withdraw 1 lakh completely. That is why it is called as cash equivalent. Students usually put cash equivalent under operating activity. It's a common mistake done. The reason behind it is because we say that current asset and current liabilities are operating activity and cash equivalent falls under current asset, right? So this is one common mistake which students do. So you should be very careful when you're analyzing your balance sheet. Then there is something called as extraordinary item. It comes generally for your theory part, or maybe in the viva of your school. Extraordinary items, what does that mean? An item which occurs rarely, once in a blue moon, like loss due to fire or earthquake. All right. Now, apart from all these things, let us understand some exceptional cases. Now, under current liability, you might see bank overdraft or bank loan. Now, bank overdraft and bank loan is your financial activity. It is your financial activity. Okay. So, despite of it being under current liability, you are supposed to take it under financial activity. If you have seen here, I have written loans. All right. And also this part has been written here in the remember part. Short-term bank loan and bank overdraft are exceptional items. The remember part is something which I have made based on the students' mistakes. All right, you will not find this in the textbook. You will only find it over here because this is something which I have seen in this last 5 years, the common mistake what students are doing. So I have written it under the head remember. Advance and loans given also can be under current asset. Again, if you are giving advances and loans, it is kind of an investment and it also falls under investment activity. If you see here, increase in advance and loan, it falls under investment activity. This is despite of advance and loan being a current asset. So these are few exceptional cases. Now talking about your reserves and surplus, you might come across a term called security premium reserve. Now what is security premium reserve? This is an additional money what you charge from your shareholders when you're giving them shares. What happens is a company has started the business and their share rate was 100 rupees. We call it as the face value, nominal value, all the value which is there in the beginning. But when the company progresses, what happens is they increase the face value by adding some amount and you term it as security premium reserve. All right. Even though this amount falls under your reserves and surplus, okay, you should always consider this as a financial activity. I hope this slide is very much clear. In this slide, you're only supposed to understand what are your operating activities, investment activity and financial activity. With one word, I have defined it so that there is no confusion. Students usually get confused between finance and investment activity. It is quite a simple thing. Financial activity is your capital employed, investment activity is your non-current asset. All right, please look into the remember part. Now we will move on to the next slide. In this slide, I have shown profit and loss account and balance sheet. But in your exams, you will always come across the balance sheet. Okay. But the reason of showing you profit and loss account is to make you understand what does that indirect word mean. You saw here, I have written indirect and over here I have written direct, right? So why does the word indirect come? Now looking into this profit and loss account, if somebody asks me, what is the cash flown in with regards to operating activity? I will say gross profit, that is the sale coming out of sales. So 1000 is the cash inflow. Okay. And salary which I'm paying is my cash outflow. So ideally 900 is what the cash comes in with regards to operating activity. This is a direct method. Straight away you can say that. Interest and rent being your investment activity, that's the cash inflow. Dividend is your which activity? Dividend you're paying to the equity shareholder. So dividend is always your financial activity. So from the P&L account, what I can understand is that my cash inflow with regards to operating activity is 1000 minus 100, 900. This is called direct method. But for you guys, for you students, the direct method is not there. what we are going to do is we are going to learn indirect method. So what they will give you, they will give you a balance sheet. In the balance sheet there will be reserves and surplus. Within reserves and surplus you will find net profit. So from net profit, how do you derive it? So I will write the net profit. That's the starting point. If you see, I have written net profit before tax 1500. I have written this figure. And in the debit side, whatever is non-cash and non-operating. Non-cash means which has got no cash movements, like DEP is depreciation. Depreciation is what? Is a non-cash item. Okay. Loss on sale of fixed asset is my investment item. Dividend is my financial item. So on 1500, I will be adding the P&L debit side, non-cash and non-operating item. So I will be adding on 1500 what all figures? 400, 300 and 200. If you see, I have written it over here. And what will I minus? I will minus the credit side of P&L. And what would that be? Again, your non-cash and non-operating. All these three figures are your investment activity, which is nothing but non-operating item. So I added all these three. So ideally what has happened on 1500, when I added this and subtracted this part, I got 900. This is what indirect method is. So in indirect method, you start from net profit, you add the P&L debit side, non-cash, non-operating, you minus P&L credit side, non-cash, non-operating, and you get the cash flow. All right. This P&L account is not there in your textbook, or it will come in your exam. The reason of showing you this is to understand what is indirect method. In textbook you have given a direct format. Even in school they will ask you to by heart the format. But why will we by heart the format, or how can we by heart the format without knowing exactly how it is derived? So the whole idea is to understand the logic behind it, so that we don't hesitate in doing something. All right. So the whole thing of this is to understand accounts from the core, rather than looking into the format, by hearting and doing it. So by hearting is not, should not be done in accounts. Let's move on to the balance sheet side. Now if you see, you should be very careful. The year given is 1819. At times they might give 1918 also, depends on your sum. So you should be very careful before you do the calculation. Now look into this part. Land, in 18 it was 10,000 and in 19 it become 8,000. That means land has reduced. Now if an asset reduce, what does that mean? It means that you must have sold the asset, so the cash has come in. Okay, so cash has come in. Same thing, goodwill has increased. Your asset has increased. So what does that mean? If goodwill increases, that means you have purchased your asset. That means cash has gone out. So this way you can understand everything, and this is how you're going to scrutinize your balance sheet. Look here, there is a figure cash. Will it be part of any of the activity? Operating, investment or finance? No. I told you cash and cash equivalent does not form a part of any of the activity. Bank overdraft, it is under current liability, but it is a exceptional case. It falls under which activity? Financial activity. Debentures, security premium, all are finance. Current investment, again it is your cash equivalent. Bills payable, creditors, bills receivable, all three are your operating activity because your current liability. All right. I hope this part is clear, because this is what your starting point would be of a sum. There will be one more item given here, that is your reserves and surplus. That will help you to start off with the net profit. I hope this part is clear. I hope you understood how to analyze it. If you want, you can make a small note of things. If asset increases, cash goes out. This is one important principle based on which you are going to do the sum. If asset reduces, cash comes in. Same thing with liability. If liability increases, cash comes in. Now students ask me or generally, sir, if liability increases, how cash comes in? So please understand, liability is like a loan. If loan increases, it means you have taken a loan. When you avail loan, what happens? Cash comes in, right? So this is what we have to understand. I always ask students to consider stock and liability as an example of asset and liability. Stock and loan, okay? So imagine a stock is increasing, that is asset increases. That means stock increases. You must have purchased the stock, only then it will increase. So when you purchase, cash goes out. All right, this is what your understanding should be. I hope this slide is very much clear. All right, one important note over here. If you see this part, goodwill is increased, it is considered as a cash outflow under investment activity that we learned. But what happens if goodwill reduces or any intangible asset reduces? You might have learned the term amortization in 11th grade. That means the value gets gradually reduced. Amortization and depreciation means the same. Depreciation you use for tangible asset, amortization word you use for intangible asset. Both are non-cash. And what are you supposed to do with non-cash items? We learned over here, no? Over here we learned clearly. If it is non-cash, we are supposed to add it. So if goodwill reduces, don't forget to add it over here. It will not be part of your investment item. So if goodwill increases, is investment item, investment activity. But if goodwill reduces, then it becomes operating activity. All right. Look into this slide. I hope it will help you to understand the whole thing. Okay. Now we are moving on to the next slide where we are going to see the format of doing it. Now you are going to see the format of cash flow statement. In your textbook, it's a 2-page format because it covers everything. What I have done is I have made the format very simple so that you can recap it in no time. Now let's look into the cash flow activity. What did I tell you? Cash flow statement, from where do you start? Net profit, because it's a indirect method. And net profit, from where do you get? In the balance sheet. You're talking about a company balance sheet. So in a company balance sheet, net profit is kept under the head reserves and surplus. So they might give you 2 years of reserves. Let's say current year the reserve is 80,000. Previously it was 16. That means we made a profit this year of 20,000. This is what we have to understand. And on that net profit, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to add your non-cash and non-operating activities. From where do you get that one? You get it from the P&L account, right? This is what we discussed in the earlier slide. So in the P&L account, debit side, okay, don't forget this part, debit side. The debit side is where we are going to get the add items, the non-cash and non-operating. I have given examples also in front of you just to understand. Talking about the subtract part, what do you minus it? You minus the credit side, the credit side of P&L account. Again the same thing, credit side of P&L account. What are the things you will see? Look here, there's an examples given, okay? Then from there, you move on to change in working capital. If you remember, in ratios, we learned working capital, which is nothing but your current asset and your current liability. So what is current asset and current liability? It is directly related to your operations, your debtors, your creditors, bills receivable, all those things, right? So over here as well, you will be writing add and subtract, and you're going to do this part. Increase in liabilities, I always consider this loan as an assumption. Okay, it doesn't mean loan is a part of your operating activity. If it's a bank loan, I told you it is financial activity. Okay, so only for understanding or to do no mistake, I consider loan and stock. Stock also I considered all the time for understanding the asset and liability impact, whether it increases or decreases. So once you complete this part, only thing left is income tax paid. Students find operating activity a little tough because a indirect method, they forget what to add and what to minus. But if you do few sums, I'm sure you will get it. So that is your income tax paid. Then comes your cash flow from investment activity. Cash flow from investment and finance activity, both are your direct methods. Both are very easy to do. You can simply pick it from the balance sheet and you can write it accordingly. All right. Now, this is not the end of your chapter. There are few more things. The additional information. Every sum in the board exam, okay, will have additional information. What we call it as adjustment. Now, when you have an adjustment, you have to follow two important rules. Now, the first rule is if an item is there in the balance sheet, I'll give an example. Provision for tax is there in the balance sheet as well as it is there in the adjustment. In such cases, you have to make a ledger. All right. So when do you make the ledger? If the item is in the balance sheet as well as in the adjustment. But let's say there is a proposed dividend given, but that item is not there in the balance sheet. In such case, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to give two entries. Like in any other chapter, wherein every adjustment should have two entries, over here also we follow the same accounting rule. Adjustment should have two entries, but if the adjustment has got an item which is there in balance sheet as well as adjustment, you have to make a ledger. So that is what something which we have to learn, and that is something which students do mistakes in. All right. So this is what the format is, and this is the important notes, because many a time students doesn't understand when to make ledger. This is a very common question. Sir, when do we make ledger? When do we know how to make, I mean, when to make it? And not only making ledger, but also analyzing it is very important. So we are going to learn that. But before that, the key things to about this slide is you understand when to make ledger, when it is there in the balance sheet as well as in the adjustment. And if it is only there in adjustment, we have to pass two entries. All right. The second part I'm going to tell you in the next slide. I hope this slide is very much clear. Let us try doing one sum today. In the extreme right hand side, you have a balance sheet. The balance sheet states the equity and liability side as well as your asset side. Now, how do you analyze it and put it in the cash flow statement? As you know, we have to create three activities, that is operating, investment, and finance. In your textbook as well as in your exam, okay, you cannot do it this way. I have just shown it so that you have a clear view of things. It is generally one after other. From operating, you move on and write it over here, this side your investment, and below that financial activity. Now, why I have created these three things together, so that we are not running through the balance sheet three times but only once. Okay, this will save our timing. Well, let's look into the share capital. As you know, share capital is your capital employed. It means it's your financial activity. What has happened? Look into the year, okay? At times it might be 17 here and 18 here. The whole calculation goes different in that case. So if it is 2 lakh, it has gone up to 2 lakh 50. Now, before I do the sum, I generally have a practice of writing these things. Asset increases, cash decreases, liability increases, cash increases. Okay, this is a habit which I always keep it so that I never get confused. Now, what is this? The first item, share capital, is your liability, isn't it? So liability increases, it means what? Your cash increases. So you can write the title or the particular as issue of share, and just in the amount column I'll write positive 50,000. Okay. Reserves and surplus is the next item, which is nothing but your net profit. What happened to your net profit? From 82, it has increased to 160. That means you made a profit in that year worth 78,000. All right. But now let's say that this was not 160, but just 80. Imagine. Then what would have been your profit? Ideally, it would have been a loss of 2000, and instead of 78, you would have written 2000 in brackets, which means it is negative. You should be very careful. In board exams, usually you have this kind of tricky ones. So your formula or the method of doing is current year minus previous year. So I understood the profit is 78. Let's look into the next part of it. Debenture again is capital employed. What happens now with debenture? It has reduced. So what I have written? I have written redemption of debenture and the amount is 30,000. I will write it minus 30,000. Is that clear? Let's quickly look into the current liability. Trade payables. Again, a liability has reduced. If liability has increased, cash comes in. If liability has reduced, then cash goes out, right? Current liability is which item? It is your operating activity. So under operating activity, there is a subtract column. Over there, you have to write liability, trade receivable reduced, and you should be writing minus 60,000. Look into the next one. What is that? Provision for tax. Now please make a note of things. Provision for tax is one item wherein you will not find the difference, unlike what you did for the earlier items. So the 20 has gone down to 12, but you will not find the difference. So how we are going to do it? The 12,000, that is provision made for current year, is a non-cash item. So you will be adding 12,000 here, and the 20,000, which is the previous year's provision. You make previous year provision so that you make it this year. So this year, if you see in the column less tax paid, you will be writing 20,000. Okay, I'll just write minus 20. You should be writing it as in brackets. So that completes our liability side. So look how fast we could have done it since we created all the three accounts. Or else what you would have done, you would have created operating activity, you would have run through the balance sheet once. Then you create investment, again you will run through it. And third, in financial. So 3 times you're reading one sum. We don't have that much of time in the board exam. Let's look into the machinery part. 117. Okay, my asset of 117 has gone down to 74. It means that I have sold machinery worth 43,000. What, and machinery is my non-current asset. It means it is my investment activity. So that part is also clear. Patents. What happened to patents? Patent is an intangible asset. From 68, it has gone down to 55. What did I tell you? When it comes to intangible asset like patents and goodwill, if it goes down, it means it is amortization. Amortization is again a non-cash item. So you just have to write it over here to in your net profit, after your net profit. Inventory. What has happened to inventory? 117 has gone up to 206. How can your asset increase? Your asset increases because you have purchased. And what happens when you purchase? Your cash goes off, right? So I'm going to write here minus 89,000, it being a operating item. Inventory. Trade receivables, from 70 it has gone down to 42. Again, if your asset is reduced, it means you have sold it and you got your money. All right. Is there anything else left? Yes, current investment. What is current investment? We learned in the earlier slide. No? Current investment is nothing but your cash and cash equivalent. So this is how you can do it. Look, I hardly took five minutes to complete this sum. You can also do it if you follow the same pattern or style of doing. So over here, my cash operating activity became minus 38. On that minus 38, I added this 43,000. On this 43, I added 20. I got a figure of 25,000. On this 25,000, I should always add the opening cash and cash equivalent. What is that? 70,000. Okay, and see what figure I'm getting. 95. So 95,000. How do you know if your answer is right? If you notice the closing current investment is 95. That's how we understand it is 95. Now in this sum, there is a few more for adjustments which we can learn, but I will take you through with the next slide where we are going to learn adjustment. The 15% debenture, that 15% is a hidden entry, okay, which we will be learning very soon. This particular slide or sum is being taught to you so that you know the posting correctly. And once you do this much of posting, I can assure you that you will get 4 marks. So in 5 minutes, you're done. You're good enough to get 4 marks in cash flow.
I hope with this video you guys understood what cash flow statement is all about. It's about your operating activity, investment activity and financial activity. Get the format right. Once you get the format, the sums becomes way too simple. So please recap the format, understand the logic, understand each and every activity. I gave you a single word for every activity so that you can never forget it. The next video would be all about the adjustment and we will do one more sum. Thank you.